Good evening and welcome to the opening slot of Cyber House Party for Easter. This is April the 1st, 2021. It's evening, and that's why I have a glass of claret in my hand. Now, the people that are here today are not allowed to drink and work at the same time because they work for Charities, who are far more regulated than I am. And so I am delighted to welcome back my guests from the last Cyber House Party. That's Tilly Room from Trinity Homeless, Mike McGrath from NSPCC Childline, and Helen Shears from PSDS, working with children with Down syndrome and supporting their families. NSPCC Childline, working against abuse and neglect of children, and Trinity Homeless, working with the homeless for a better future. Let's go men first, because I'm modern like that. Mike, NSPCC Childline. Everyone knows it, right? But it's not always what they think.
That's right. Thanks, Clive. And hello, everyone. Thanks for all of your amazing support across the cyber security community. I hope you have a great night tonight. So I'm Mike McGrath. As Clive said, I work at NSPCC Childline. I lead the partnerships department. And essentially, the NSPCC is the leading charity that focuses on preventing child abuse and neglect. And we've got a whole range of work to make sure that we're there to help children when they need the support the most, to make sure that we work across society to prevent abuse from happening in the first place. But then also crucially, and in particular with you mentioning, Clive, our service Childline, making sure that we're there round the clock for children if they need help, no matter what their worry is. So a whole range of our work is about trying to make the landscape around children safer, but then also being there with crucial services and resources for people, no matter what their place in society, so that they can play a part in keeping children safe in their communities and by doing something to support or get involved in the work that we do.
Brilliant. That's now nice and clear. But now, Helen, you're also working with children, but it's in a very different way. So tell the people that are new, for example, that weren't here last time, a little bit, if you could, about PSDS.
Yeah, hi Clive, thanks for inviting us back. Yes, PSDS is a charity that I helped to co-found 15 years ago after my youngest daughter Thea was born with Down syndrome, a condition that was diagnosed after she was born. And at the time, we didn't have a lot of sort of support for us as a family, lots of medical support for Thea and specialist services that were kicking in. But we really felt we wanted to reach out to another family who had kind of walked the path that we were walking and get some sort of ideas of what we could be doing to support Thea and our other daughter, Rowan. So PSDS started very organically by three parents meeting up, three mums who all had babies born within a few months of each other, all had Down syndrome in a local hospital. And we've just grown from there. Started as a coffee morning, providing support for 7 families. And now we work with over 100 families, and we have an age range of children from babies up to teenagers. So the work we're doing now, support for whole families, but also the services we offer for young people with Down syndrome, is now leading from interventions when they're babies, getting into school and supporting our young children in school, after school clubs and activities, so there's a social aspect, support for families with coffee mornings and education days, and obviously working with teenagers towards adulthood. So a lot of work around life skills, independence, and all the core skills that we all need to be able to contribute to our local society.
That's a fantastic success story, and in 15 years, that's really great. And Tilly from Trinity, just another potted one of a minute of what Trinity Homeless do.
Oh gosh, where to begin? Thank you so much, Clive, for having us, and thanks everyone for attending again tonight. Trinity Homeless, though, I think, Mike, you actually used the word prevention. And the idea is that we're there to not only break the cycle of homelessness in Hillingdon and Slough, but we also want to work in outreach with the community to prevent it ever happening again for anybody. So the idea is that we have a whole pathway ranging from direct access to supported accommodation, all the way to affordable housing, which means that we can inspire trust, accountability, resilience, and then ultimately change. And I think it really ripples not just within the individuals we support, but the whole community. Often you get sort of a social pariah syndrome with people that are homeless, but they're probably some of the most resilient and resourceful people I ever meet. So really bringing them into the fold with everybody else in the local area is has an amazing impact, not just on them, but on everyone else.
That's an important point, and one we often forget, that they're but for the grace of God go all of us into difficult circumstances. But all of you are trying in your different ways, in very different charities, to provide long-term and lasting help and solutions for people, rather than a 5-minute sticking plaster. I think that's important. But I want to look towards hope. I've just been in my mind, for some reason, reminded of Pandora's box. And when all the chaos and ruin came out of Pandora's box, when it was so unwisely opened, a bit like a corona lockdown and a virus, the only thing that was left in that box when all the ill good came out was hope. And I think that though we've been through a very, very difficult and dark year in many ways, it's also been wonderful in the way that people have been resourceful, supportive, helpful, the way communities have come together. But there's some hope now, hopefully not misplaced, but some hope in a roadmap out of this. And I'd like to talk for a few minutes each about what you're planning to do for the second half of this year, as we hopefully can get back to face and all that. So going a different way this time, and starting, I suppose, with one of the ladies. So Helen, what are PSDS looking to do in the second half of this year that will give your people hope?
Well, one of the most important things for us as a charity is bringing our families together. We started off very much supporting the whole family. When the charity started, we were working with babies. So it was a lot of our journey was helping families, parents and siblings support around the diagnosis of Down syndrome and things like that. So that's always been a core of what we do and what we've suffered from during the pandemic. And we've been able to maintain some of our services, and most of them we've managed to run online, but they've been very much directed at the young people and children receiving sort of speech therapy and things through Zoom. But what we've missed is that opportunity to bring our families together, and for parents particularly to provide support and advice to each other. So for the second half of the year, we're really hoping we can bring back our social events in the summer. So get out there and do things in the summer. We normally do a big farm visit and picnic for the young children and young people, and also bring the families together for a party in the summer. It's been a cornerstone of what we do. We couldn't do it last year. We really missed it. We also really missed our Christmas party. So we're hoping to bring back all of our social events. And really importantly, I think for lots of our young people, some of our young people with Down syndrome have health complications that have made them quite more vulnerable maybe than others. So a lot of our young people have been shielding. And even now with schools reopened, some of our young people are still homeschooling. So to be able to get out and be together with their friends when we're in a safer situation, I think is going to be really, really important. So we're looking forward and hoping that come June onwards, we can do some socialising, get together and celebrate, which I think we've really missed. As I said earlier, it's our 15th birthday. We were going to do something in the first quarter of this year that we had to cancel. So, you know, we're really hoping we can bring that back for the second half of the year and celebrate all the things our young people have achieved, especially during lockdown when they've worked really, really hard.
That's a really good point I hadn't thought of, Helen, that with children with Down syndrome, who will often have a lot of other conditions which are considered comorbidities towards corona, they've not even been down the shops. They've not had a walk for exercise out. They've literally been locked inside. So this is going to mean so much to them to be able to come together with the families and friends and support each other. So we're fingers crossed that that's going to happen for you in the second half of the year. And now, Tilly, there's the opposite with you, really. The people that you've been trying to help have been out on the streets in the freezing January and February we had. Those ones can't get inside. Quite the opposite. Though I know there was a lot of success in getting people off the streets during the initial wave of corona. But that, again, was a bit of a sticking plaster. What you're looking forward to, hopefully, in the next half of the year is something a bit more concrete. What are your plans?
Absolutely. I think what was really good about everybody in last year, which meant that temporary accommodation was available in theory for every person on the streets, was that we all started asking questions at local councils saying, why did we ever let this happen at all before? Why did it take a virus? And that's meant that we've been able to look at our own pathway and actually get people interested, landlords interested in affordable housing. So we're planning, fingers crossed, that at the end of the year, we can open 41 self-contained flats that can be affordable long-term accommodation for anybody that wants them. So yeah, the pathway will start with direct access. We're currently looking at developing a rough sleeper hub and centre in Hillingdon. So that's as soon as someone's homeless during COVID times or not, they make one phone call, they meet one outreach worker and they're in, and that's the end of their homelessness. Next would be supported accommodation, where they receive one-to-one coaching for 6 months, 9 months, as long as they need, really. And then we've got the affordable housing at the end. So that's really what we're looking to strengthen this year. I know that we've got 20 new rooms coming on at the end of the year for complex needs. So that's people that they do need that bit of support. They do want the coaching. And then from there, you know, we'll see the transformation. Another thing that's been really important is with everybody in, it didn't discriminate around people with recourse to public funding. So the idea was that whether you were a UK citizen or not, we weren't going to tolerate homelessness and we weren't going to let that happen. So we've developed a programme called Home Free, which means that we can have anybody, regardless of their status, in housing and work with them to get settled status, get the rights that they need so that they're safe, really. So yeah, exciting.
Sounds great ambition. I really hope it comes through. And finally, the man himself, Mike. What's NSPCC Childline looking at for the next 6 months, second half of the year, really, I suppose?
Yeah, no problem. So there is a lot of hope and a lot of positivity, even though we know that the impact of the pandemic on children now and long into the future is going to be huge. But I think the central theme of it is making sure that we are taking everything that we've learned and adapted to in this last 12 months and making sure that we don't lose that platform for the future. So, for example, one of our biggest outreach programs in the prevention space of empowering children to understand the dangers around them and to help keep themselves safe was our primary school service. We were in 90% of the UK's primary schools before pandemic. And we know that when we're allowed to safely, again, that will be a bedrock of our outreach in the future. But during the pandemic, we've made sure that we created a virtual version of our school service workshops for children, which has been fantastic. And we can only think that that would enhance our support of children in the future to make sure that we're doing both. Similarly, in Childline, the counselling sessions that we do, our volunteers are key workers and have been throughout the pandemic, which has been amazing, but also the difficulty that not all volunteers can keep coming to our bases in a safe way. So similarly, we have really propelled ourselves forward in being able to pilot virtual support of children, where volunteers in the right settings and being supervised and supported in the right way can provide an enhanced virtual offer to them as well. So that is key to the work that we're doing for children. But also I mentioned earlier about trying to make the world safer around children. So throughout the pandemic, our policy team's been working with government to make sure that we're contributing and leading the way in terms of the online harms bill for children and contributing to that, but also the domestic violence bill, which is being discussed as well. And then a big thing that we've been doing throughout the pandemic, and we can only continue into the future, is making sure we're doing everything we can, that the government is putting children at the heart of its recovery planning. So that's just a bit of a snapshot through that theme. And then absolutely at the heart of that is, as always, we are just dependent on voluntary contributions of supporters. Over 90% of our income, even though we're a large charity, is from people and amazing people in the audience tonight who support our work in fundraising. So like the White Hat Committee, we've done a great and very successful virtual version of the White Hat Ball, but we absolutely have hope that post-pandemic we'll all be getting together again in the right ways to reinvigorate our in-person events that we'd love to get back to. So we're full of hope for that as well.
Enough mention of that virtual version of the White Hat Ball. I appeared on that in my boxer shorts. Now, honestly, the three of you and the people you work with doing fantastic work from on a big level when you're often pressurizing politicians and the powers that be for your interest groups, or whether on that individual level, helping an individual person. I'm getting a little bit emotional. I don't know why that's going to... I'm just so proud of people like you in this country and what you do for other people every day, ceaselessly. And if people don't give, look at these tears. You've got to give. So it's along the bottom of the screen there, folks. cyberhouseparty.com and the Virgin Giving link there. Give generously. That money you've not spent down the pub, give it now. And we can help other people have a better life. So from myself, from Helen, Mike, and Natalie. Thank you very much, folks. Bye-bye. You can say goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Great evening.